Tim?
How many times did you watch the original film?
Question, how many times did we watch the original film? Not as many times as you might think, and that's because by the good graces of destiny, when we started in '82, this was before you could just go down to Blockbuster and rent Raiders, and certainly before you could watch it, on demand from Netflix. You just couldn't get it. Thankfully, Raiders was re-released in theaters the subsequent year in '82, and we snuck in the recorder. But as noted, we went by memory. So as a result, we've seen our own film, 100 times more, for 100 times for every time we have seen the original. So we have the surreal experience that when we do see the original film, with all the sound effects that we shamelessly lifted from it and everything. It's going to sound weird, and please don't misunderstand this, because I want to go on record saying the original is a far superior film to our own, but it feels like it's a big budget remake of our film. That's the best way I can describe it. It's very weird.
You had mentioned before that you had no budget. About how much money did you spend, though?
Well, we weren't really sophisticated enough to keep track of any budget or really have a budget. I mean, we depended on, of course, emotional support from our parents, but not financial support. And they sort of left it to us to figure it out: goodwill, donations, making stuff, finding stuff. Overall estimation over the 7 years was somewhere probably around $5,000.
In the final bit of the credits, we learned how you did a few of the things, like construction sites and so forth. What were the hardest shots to set up?
Hardest shots to set up. Hardest, I'd say the most difficult scenes, logistically, the Tannistigs, where the excavation site, that was the most difficult logistically. We had getting 20 neighborhood kids out in traditional Arab costumes, and it rains, and you have to convince everyone to stay there and not leave, and red mud, and clinging everything to to the robes, and just miserable. And you've carted all these tents and wood and fake guns and everything out there. That, I think, was one of the most trying times, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, and with the Tannistigs, everything kept collapsing, and we had to keep rebuilding everything and reshooting everything in the mud, and there was just, it was really a drag. That was probably the most difficult logistically in regard, and also not really enjoyable. It wasn't really fun. Another scene that was logistically difficult, but we had a certain momentum, and was the truck scene, and that was really fun. There's about 76 different shots, and we had to schedule it depending on whether or not the truck itself was being pushed or pulled by another vehicle, because the truck didn't have an engine in it. It was without an engine. So that was a challenge, to make it visually look, kind of cool. So.
Has Steven Spielberg ever publicly acknowledged this remake?
He has. Actually, Empire Magazine, which is the UK's big movie magazine, in Australia, did a big 25th anniversary issue celebrating 25 years anniversary since Raiders was released, and they did big all-new interviews with Lucas, Harrison Ford, and of course Steven Spielberg. And Spielberg actually closed the interview by saying, there's these 3 kids from Mississippi that spent 7 years doing the shot-for-shot remake, and to this day, it's been the greatest bit of flattery that George and I have ever received. And, that just kind of blew us away. We've had the good fortune of meeting Mr. Spielberg and spending about 45 minutes with him, which was incredible. But it still kind of, I think, knocked us out to see that. So remarkable, and it's really something to meet your boyhood idol and to learn that you've picked your idol well. And not to mention having your boyhood idol not sue you.
Yeah, it's a good thing you didn't remake a Disney film. You'd be in trouble right now.
Yeah.
Once you realize the ultimate low-res quality of your product, I mean, what you would be limited to, what kept you on it? Did you think that the low-res look would be cool, or or leaves more to the imagination?
You know, I think, you know, I'll you know, venture off the beaten path here into sort of a hypothetical explanation of that. That low-res quality, I think, is an adult perspective and somebody who has probably consumed media through one's life. And even for me, you look at something and you say, well, that's low-res. For us, when we were working with the Betamax camera, hey, that's what we had, you know, and we thought it looked cool. I mean, initially we thought it looked bad, but we got a little more, we got better and a little more sophisticated. So I think that's part of the charm and the innocence of being young, is that you don't see that. You don't see that it's low res. You're seeing that you're capturing your essence and your energy, and it's on moving videotape, and you're high off that. You know, that's the excitement. So I don't think, I mean, we kept each other in check in regards to that set doesn't look good, that lighting doesn't look good, this acting is really bad in this scene, you know, as opposed to just only bad, you know. And, you know, there were certain things where we wanted to get better ourselves, just the mechanics of actual physical filmmaking. But in terms of the medium on which we were capturing everything, I don't think we ever questioned it, because it's simply what we had to work with, you know, so.